to have to deal with that in the bot side. And BLG going to go with the Gwen, the Lee Sin. And I like the Gwen ban here. I think Shallow, who has been a fantastic top laner, has had a bit of an unfortunate run of form in the last few series there for FPX. But before then, he looked very, very solid for them in the top side.
Yeah, and I think the Renata ban is, I kind of heard this being talked about a bit, is that Crisp has been spamming it in solo queue. So definitely seems like he'll be someone who's very comfortable in the pick. Now, interesting enough, we get the Jinx ban. Aphelios Caitlyn's still available. So if FPX want the Aphelios, they could prioritize it now. And that would mean kind of it's the lower tier of AD carries. Caitlyn did get a nerf coming onto this patch. Just some of the wave clear on a Q, some of the AD per level. And also it feels like teams have kind of fallen off for a bit. For the time being, though, we look at a very quick lock-in of that Leona for Crisp. And a follow-up with that Viego, something we haven't seen too much high priority on, right? It's definitely a decent pick on the patch, but it hasn't really popped up too heavily in a lot of the series we've had. Now, FPX, a support pick wouldn't go amiss here. Could go for things like the Thresh, the Braum, the Tom Kench, all decent options to mitigate the pressure, or could just go for that Nautilus. I know Hung would be fine going that into Leona, but also I think a jungle pick would make a lot of sense. Often we see Hecarim heavily prioritized at this point, but it looks like they might just go for that Xin Zhao.
Yep, get the Xin Zhao locked in and loaded, get themselves set up and ready to go, and they can look to try and maybe make a bit more of a pick composition. They do lock in the Ahri as well, so that's going to be care on the Ahri in the mid lane. We talked about it a lot earlier. It's a big, powerful pick that can have a lot of agency if played correctly.
Yeah, and critically, a lot of priority. This is what I was harping on. I want you to give a pick that's going to be able to challenge the laning phase, find prio, apply pressure, and then you can use that to spread outwards. So FX just secured a strong mid jungle. I'm happy to see that coming out. And what we do get with BLG is they've gone for the Ziggs. So they're happy to give up the 80 carries because they want to go for a mage in the bot lane. Ziggs Leona, really strong combo, a lot of burst damage onto a target. And on top of that, Aphelios can definitely get outranged by the pick. They will bat away that Thresh. Obviously decent at mitigating the engage and keeping the Aphelios safe. For FPX, I feel like you can just look towards mid laners, right? Things like the Vex might potentially cause problems. Can look to target those out. Could also, if you have concerns about any particular top laners, now could be the time.
Yeah, and this Ziggs pick has only been picked once so far. The split by Doggo. It was in their one victory win against Weibo Gaming. It was a very, very large one. And actually picked it into the Aphelios as well that time as well. So decently set up there for Doggo to kind of make that one work for himself. And it's actually a fun little fact. In his entire career, he is 4-0 on the Ziggs pick, so yet to lose with it. So good omens here for BLG, and like similar to what we were talking about in terms of how they feel like their win conditions go. It is a later game scaling kind of carry that you can pick, and when the game goes longer, it becomes very difficult to just break that chokehold of constant CSing that the Ziggs will have over you.
Yes, we see FPX focusing their bans onto potential picks that could cause issues in the laning phase. Now, LeBlanc is another one of those high pressure mid laners we've seen. We did see this matchup earlier this week where it was Scout on the Ahri into the LeBlanc, and he was pretty dominant, but it's definitely a skill matchup, right? A lot of outplay potential from both sides. I think LeBlanc definitely has a lot of setup pre-6, but it looks like they may not go in that direction. Actually going for the Azir. I mean, we said BLG was slow, but you know, they really want to take the scenic route on this one.
I mean, they're taking a page out of the LCK book of plays right now. This is Azir. I will say it is Fofo's most played champion of all time in his career. He is a 53 games play with 32 wins and 21 losses. It is a pretty common thing that he knows exactly how to play for. I will say that the last time we saw it was in the 2021 summer finals, I believe, or summer regional finals, and didn't quite have a great game on it. Ended up losing that particular game against LNG over it. So it isn't exactly been the most run of form, but it still does a lot. Has great engage, great safety, and as you mentioned, the later this game goes on, has fantastic damage. But I'm looking at what FPX has drawn. They want this game to be done by the mid game. They want this to be done before 30 minutes because they have so much agency to make things work in the mid game. And Riven locked in here for Breathe. What is with me and getting Rivens in the top lane?
But I mean, I feel like it's a cool matchup, right? He was toying with the Irelia or the Riven, both things that can quickly gap close onto the Gnar and then look to burst them out. If you stack up a wave, it's a very easy dive for Weiwei. And critically, as much as the Azir is a scaling pick, does pretty well at contesting early priority, right? Has a lot of safety, definitely takes a bit of time to get going, but I feel like BLG's sort of mid to bot are very much a brick wall, right? How are you ever going to approach towers against the Azir Ziggs? Really allows you just to sort of ramp up. Now, I will say, I feel like BLG's composition is a bit wacky, right? I'm just going to lay it out there. not something we traditionally expect to see on this current patch in the LPL or a lot of regions. I feel like what the side of FPX have is a lot more bog standard, right? It's kind of just typical. You have a strong mid jungle, get on bot lane. Nara is typically a safe blind, and they have decent, decent team fighting tools, decent engage. They have the Aphelios to really carry them through. BLG, how we'll interact will be, a bit different. I do like the fact that the Leona zigs into the Rakan Aphelios. Once you get that first recall, you get some mana in your pockets. You can just push and have permanent priority. There's not too much you can do to pressure you, and I think if they play towards that top lane, if they get breathe ahead, a lot of agency there. Azir will scale well. I think there's elements of BLG's composition that makes sense. It just is a bit out of sorts for the current meta, and the cohesion seems a little bit... it doesn't seem like all there, but I guess we'll see how it plays out. Ultimately, this mid jungle, I definitely think the FPX have strong tools to get that rolling, so I'm looking towards that.
Puzzle pieces can fit together if you force them hard enough. That's how I feel with this BLG composition. It feels like they've got a dab of everything. A little bit of engage, a little bit of late game, a little bit of skirmishing power. It's kind of a palette, kind of trier of things. It's a setup for a lot of different things they can maybe try and work around. But we are going to jump onto the rift for game one. FPX coming in to try and get themselves back into the conversation of playoffs, and BLG trying to put themselves in the conversation of top 4, top 5, trying to make sure that they are championship contenders, as both these teams now coming into their 12th series of their campaigns. And feels like only yesterday we started the 2022 split. Feels like we're quickly coming towards playoffs, and I don't know what to do with myself. We got 2 weeks and a weekend left. That's all we got, Alex.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how quickly it's gone. It's really getting to the later stages, and that's when these wins are so instrumental, particularly FPX making a last-minute addition, changed your roster. And in fairness, it's one of those things where obviously they know what Care is offering for the team, right? They've obviously had him on their academy roster, but it's still a late change that they kind of want to have his impact with as soon as possible.
All right, jump onto the game. We'll wait to see. There shouldn't be much action in this bot side, unless, of course, Hong can get... I say that, it is Hong. Let me take that back. There will be action in this bot side if Hong can get himself that level 2. Generally speaking, he should be able to go for it. Never mind, level 1 he's going to go for it, and it's just a little bit of harassment, but this is actually a bit of an interesting one now, as LWX actually... The bomb, I think the bomb just went over his head. That was very odd interaction there from that one, so not quite getting it.
It's kind of... because so... big history check. There was the days, ages and ages and ages and years and years and years ago, where Ziggs was super popular mid, and they actually nerfed the radius of his bomb, like the collision size, and it's actually quite small. It's kind of easy to miss if you end up just not connecting. Like the hitbox is surprisingly small compared to the animation itself. We did see Breathe being that ignite basically start of the game, right? Just establishing dominance in the lane.
That's how you gotta do it, man. It's like, you use Ignite for kills, I use it for harassment. We are not the same as we come into this top side. Yeah, again, I don't mind the Riven as such. I will say the Gnar does have a lot of safety, but the big thing with Mini Gnar versus Mega Gnar is the Mini Gnar has almost no armor when in that form. So especially in the early levels, there is a lot of kill potential specifically for something like a Riven that can just get you the triple knock up, or sorry, the double CC, and then kind of like this kind of setup where you're able to get the double bits of CC down, and you can put down some significant harassment. So we'll see if they're able to make it work for the side of BLG, and I like the side that the Breathe is being as aggressive as he is, because like you said, it can have an opportunity, but without an Ignite, unlikely to see an early kill going up that top side.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we saw Weiwei path towards the top side. I think it kind of goes without saying is that you need to be playing for your Riven in this game, otherwise you will be having a bad time. Now, seems some good trading coming out mid from Care. Again, the Azir does well at contesting priority in the early levels, but once sort of we get that point where Care can start setting for charms, setting for kills, setting for picks, that's where there's a lot of agency for the Ahri. And critically, because of all the mobility into the Azir, right, a lot of picks can't follow the Azir when he dashes away, whereas Ahri really has that potential to chase after him.
We will just kind of wait and see how it goes, as we see now Xiaolahu gonna... Oh, the little ward that could. It will stop back there, and those little small things can be significant. We will see Clid now roaming down towards this bot side. He will spot out Crisp, so they will know that the Ziggs is by himself, and immediately we are going to see an engage there from Hong, but he needs to be very careful One more bouncing bomb could have been the end of him, and he'll have to get himself a reset now as well.
Yeah, nice little timing from Doggo to interrupt the dash, right, with your satchel. He'd be very quick on those, but definitely a way you can outplay the Rakan in that situation. So doing pretty solidly. And I'm not too surprised to have a fairly slow early game. I am looking to see what the junglers can do off the next reset, though. I really want to see BLG look to try and capitalize on this Riven in the top lane and make something happen. If you can crash a wave when this Gnar is low health, that is prime time for making things happen, right? I don't think there's really much to be said for leaning towards the bot lane for the side of BLG. Mid lane, obviously, there's very little you can do there. So it's Riven a bust, in my opinion, for BLG. But we could just see way up to farm up again on this Viego. Obviously, Viego gets a pretty big power spike at level 6. I think particularly with the item changes as well. Blazer and King far stronger now, got an extra 2% percentage HP damage just added to it for 100 gold extra cost. Death Dance, a really solid item at keeping you alive longer to get the resets, and also when you get those resets you also heal even more. So, you know, if the Viego can get to the point where it's strong, definitely a lot of value.
Absolutely. Lots of value there if they're able to get on top of it, or later on in the game, as we can see Breathe getting a jump onto Xiaolahu. We're going to have a little bit of time. Like I said, it's going to be a very slow early game. This is BLG's bread and butter, and I'm going to pose a really off-the-wall random question as I say that, because I knew it's Caster Curse. I knew if I said something that was off-topic, they'd have some kind of engagement. I knew as soon as I came back to it, they'd run away. God damn it. It's the duality of the Caster Curse. But anyway, coming back to what I wanted to ask you. We got FPX, OMG, Rare Atom, and I would say Ultra Prime and IG as well. Only basically 2 of those teams can make it in the playoffs. I want to say, would you give FPX a big chance to make it, or do you feel like it is going to rely a little bit on, not luck, but definitely the run of other people's forms for them to kind of make it into that top 10?
Yeah, I don't think they're in without that good of a chance, honestly. I think IG have looked kind of good recently. I think Rare Atom on a 5-win streak, by the way.
Yes.
I don't know. I really think if we had FPX continuing as they were, I don't really see them as making playoffs. But they've made changes, right? I'm not saying that just changing a play in your roster suddenly means that does everything, but clearly they're actively trying to fix their issues within the roster. And hopefully this series is that test, right? If we see them step up, if we see it make a big sizable difference, that could be enough. But, you know, you asked that question about those teams. I don't think they're the top contenders out of that pool.
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree there as well. I feel like out of the 5, Rare Atom, OMG, FPX, Ultra Prime, and Invictus Gaming, I would put probably Rare Atom and Invictus in there. Feels like those 2 guys, and also if you did not see the news, Mole, the ex-mid laner, shall be coming in as AD carry for IG in the last few series, which I am personally very excited about to see, as we have to talk about a completely different team outside of this game, because neither team's doing anything, Ox, and I'll be honest with you. That's why I tend to not enjoy BLG games. It gets a little boring.
It can be slow, but, you know, I'm still trying to wait for the opportunity where they look to play around topside. And really, it's the ults, I think, when they come online, that's a big spike. Obviously, we do have the ult available for Breathe. Level 6 has just been hit by Clade. Level 6 will be coming soon for Weiwei. Massive spike for the Viego. That extra execute damage on top of the fact that the skirmish is just so much stronger. But you also kind of see, you know, on the other side, Care now has that ult available for more pick potential, has even gone for the Ionians for early cooldown reduction. Well, ability haste, I guess it is now. Level 6 hit by LWX as well. And at this point, this is when I could see Chris being a bit more free to leave lane. You can actually see Herald up on the map, 8 minutes. He is pathing up towards the top side. Doggo is very self-sufficient. If you look at his items, his Lost Chapter, right? He basically can just clear waves from a distance and has the mana pool to back it up for an extended period of time. So I feel like BLG could path towards the Herald and look to contest on the back of this. FPX definitely making the moves themselves. And actually, based on Crisp's pathing, looks like BLG aren't that interested.
We got a bit of time. Crisp can make his way up here now, as we do see that the representative of bot lane support, Hung, is now up on the top side. So it may still look for it, but looks like it's going to be a trade of sides from both these teams. Dragon for the side of BLG, Herald for FPX. So money and power now for FPX versus power later for BLG. And we just kind of wait and see. And you know what, Ox? I want to talk to you a little bit, because nothing else is going to happen in the next 2. I do want to talk to you. Nice split screen. We get to get this beautiful little bit
Dude,
of
if Hung steals this,
I swear to God, nice one. But you're coming in. It's your debut full-time split. You were a guest last year, and I wanted to know, get your experience. How are you finding it? How are you looking to try and go and make this work? Because We can see now. Yep, never mind. They're gonna back away. But how are you finding the LPL, my dude?
It's fun. It's, you know, it's hard to predict. I will say that much. That's the thing. It's like there's so many teams. I love there's so many teams. It's action packed for the most part. It's a lot of fun to cast.
Bad
and to
time
watch.
to mention that.
Yeah, truly. But what I just find so crazy is the fact that we've had we'll have RNG lose to RA and then beat Weibo, right? And we'll have V5 losing the top esports. It just doesn't make sense. Like, you look over the LCK, it's like T1 wins, boom, there, solved it, done, right? with the LPL,
I figured it out. The mathematic equation: if game equals W, then W equals T1.
there we go. You know, and whereas it feels like it's been so back and forth, and we had teams with a lot of varying consistency, which makes me, you know, it still keeps me on edge, and I'm wondering how things will go towards when we hit MSI, right? Who will be a representative, how they'll perform, will they manage to hit a level of consistency that they can maintain, or will it be like they turn up and then do an FPX from Worlds last year?
Honestly, it is such a flip as well when we come to the LPL. It's like LPL come in and it's just like, I just remember when we were in play-ins and talking about LNG in play-ins of 2021, and Emily Rand was saying oh, you guys excited for LNG? And we're like, maybe. We've seen them flip stuff pretty consistently. They could be awesome, but they also could be ugh. So I think that's the fun thing about LPL, though. It's sometimes, today, it's sometimes V5 and JDG is a banger game. Why? Because JDG decided to show up. It's just the level of talent we have in the LPL is actually immense. And yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping we'll be the reigning, MSI champions going into Worlds 2022. We are currently the reigning champions.
The LPL to win MSI? Wow,
I'm hoping.
Color me shocked, Sheen.
I want to be tentative. I don't want to be seen as biased, I just want to see, because what if we don't? Well, never mind. We're gonna win. I don't care. What's gonna happen is everyone's. I'm gonna leak the script before you go on. I'm gonna leak the script. All right. Everyone's going to come in. Every analyst from every region is going to come in. T1 are the greatest team ever. It's going to be a very obvious 3-0 for them in the finals. Whoever we send, be it V5, Weibo, RNG, EDG, LNG, doesn't matter, are going to come in. They're going to win the first game. It's going to go to 3-2, and we're going to win MSI again. I've leaked the script. Sorry, guys. Oh, well, nope. No engagement.
There's a moment we thought we might have action there, but ultimately we don't. I mean, for me, I just hope both teams have fun. That's where I'm gonna.
That is not the census of League of Legends players. If anything, it's just you know what? I don't even want my team to win. I'm annoyed.
Oh man, don't even start now. Just checking where things have been going slowly, but we do see that despite the fact Breathe picked this as a counter pick, Wei hasn't shown his face top. We haven't seen any real action towards that side of the map, and on top of that, we're now seeing the Herald get thrown down. So this should be first tower for the North, who has a 20 CS lead, right? Doggo is going to be able to answer back very quickly on this tower. I think, no, actually, I don't think they get it low enough right now to, even though obviously it's a Ziggs, right? You hit that threshold, instantly gone. FPX might be looking for that second charge and maybe a bit more.
Yeah, they're getting a lot more from this than the side of BLG. BLG will get a lot of free time there, as we can see now Breed just going forward aggressively to try and get some damage down to sway the second push onto this tier 2. And it is only about a 300 gold lead here for FPX, and again, nothing happens. Dude, it's almost like we're in a BLG game.
I feel like this is one of those things where people will tune in and be like, dude, Riven got picked in the LPL, let's go watch, this is sick, free the Riven. And then 30 minutes in, it's like...
Yeah, honestly, the resident sleeper.
Come on, man. I want to see, but the thing is, I want to see Breathe pop up in this pick, and he is now going against a Hull Breaker. It's a little bit rough, right? I think altogether, in the side lane, I think Nara now becomes pretty bulky, even when he's a mini with those extra resistances. So it's really looking towards the team fight when you can join in, when you can find the angle, when you find the opportunity to make things happen. And really, there will be some explosive team fighting. There's a lot of tools, a lot of agency, a lot of engage, snap, pick potential things like the RE Charm, like Leona, Crisp on that. And we'll see if the teams opt to set up for Dragon, because it is coming up in 20 seconds. FPX are been leaning towards the top side, not throwing too much attention towards it. And if BLG can secure this, definitely puts them in a comfortable spot to lean towards stacking up Dragons for Soul. Remember, you have an Azir on your side, you have a Ziggs, you're very good at stalling out, and the Azir exceptional in the late stages.
Well, this should be the Dragon going over the side of BLG, gets them up onto 2. As we see, the trade on the top side of the map is going to be the side of FPX getting pressure up on this top side. I will say the spawn of the Herald is about 50 seconds away, so they aren't going to be able to trade it back immediately, as we see now the Mega Inferno Bomb coming out onto the top side, but that should not dissuade this push from Xiaolao Hu, finishing off what Shelly had started, and they will get themselves another turret. So again, trade of sides, it's money and gold now for power later, as BLG just are happy to scale. And I mean, I know we mentioned that, you know, BLG like to take it slow, but I expected FPX to be a little bit, you know, more enticing, more LPL-X and or esque even. And I think the big thing I'm going to see here is that if FPX do end up flipping at the Baron, do they even try and go for it? Because right now BLG and FPX are just happy to trade. You know, that would be the only exciting thing. Like
BLG, like, it's fine. You can get as many early leads as you want. We know that when it comes to Baron, you just fundamentally cannot fathom taking it down without flipping it. So, yeah, you know, but I like the fact that FPX, I think, with their composition...
Is it a flip when BLG just, like, opt for a trade? You know, is that a flip then? It's just, you know, the duality of it.
I feel like BLG probably aren't going to flip when it's a Baron, like trade when it's a Baron. They'll probably just contest, right? But, you know, I digress. I think here, big thing for me is second Herald, okay? You're against Azir. Taking that mid tower, Azir zigs as well. If you don't get this second Herald, you are really going to struggle to take down that tier 1 mid. So I think that FPX should 100% be pushing in here to contest this one. If they don't get it, it's a pretty big hit.
It is a pretty big one, as we might see a fight coming in now. We might be blessed for blood by the Blood God, as we can see now Care and Clid trying to just combo off. The Rift Herald goes over to the side of BLG. There is the Crescent Guard as Hung trying to jump in with the quickness. He will finally get a charm, but they're all a little bit split as Crisp gets caught out and taken down. First blood at just under 16 minutes is now Care. Gets himself a stun onto Breathe, but Breathe is unafraid. Breathe is pushing forward as Clid is almost down. He falls to the side of Fofo, and after so long, we finally get a fight, but it's only a 1-for-1. Importantly, though, BLG got themselves a Rift Herald.
Yeah, take the Herald, and now I think FPX, I don't even think he can get over mid and take that tower in response. Should just be Doggo and Fofo moving over to defend. So massive miss out from FPX, unable to secure the Herald, unable to really find favor in the fight, and it just became quite a scrappy one, right? Very split in sort of the priorities. BLG were ready to disengage just on the back of the fact that they'd already secured the objective, but we'll see. FPX wanted a bit more, right? Clid already chunked out in this situation, doesn't commit. I feel like he could have dived toward the Herald and tried to smite it, but instead heavily commits forward. Hung goes for Breathe, but look, half the team head towards the Leona trapped in the pit, right? And they just leave the Riven to back away. And then we get the situation where BLG can start to layer some poke over to the 3 left in the pit. They start going in and targeting them. They get the reset. Shallow has to flash out. It just feels very scattered from FPX, in all honesty. It felt like their approach to the team fight was a bit messy.
Yeah, very disjointed. Felt like there was 2 different calls being called there. 2 people going on to the Riven, as I said, the rest of them going on to the flashless Leona, who couldn't really go anywhere anyway, so they're trapped in the pit regardless of how you look for it. So don't really appreciate Xiaolao Hu going full in with the Meganar onto one person who was effectively already dead to rights. But look, it is what it is, and we're looking at a little bit of a football score at 1-1 on the kills. And first items being picked up across the board.
It's fine.
Ooh, that's a good question. What would penalties be for League of Legends?
It would be, you know, the Mundo dodgeball in the pit.
Yes, the that would be awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
That'd be so cool.
So fun. Or 1v1 and Howl Abyss, how that works, you know.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll ever get to that point where they just turn around and say, if a game gets to like 40 minutes, it then goes to like 1v1s. You have to like strategically put in your 1v1s. So do you want your mids against mids, or do you want the guaranteed like mid against support or something like that? That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I doubt it'll happen, but you know, it's
I don't know, it never would, but I like to hypothesize. Just be an interesting kind of setup. But speaking of setups, 50 seconds till the dragon spawns. FPX got themselves in the river first, but BLG with the Rift Herald should be able to coast them out and garner control for themselves in this mid lane.
Yeah, so for FPX, trying to deal with the Herald, they're kind of losing a bit of control off the Herald areas. But look, Hung's going now.
They are going straight in. Fofo goes straight into stasis. You can see now Chris going in with the Zenith play. They're going to have the Moonlight Vigil onto 2, but they've traded back the supports, and now he's going to get on this backside. He's getting CC'd up way, not quite able to get on top of him, so he will have to back himself away. Xiaolao, who almost goes down. They almost get the resets there for the Viego, but it's just not quite enough. And now, I will say that health bars are still very much in favor of BLG if they want to try and go for this dragon, but it's a bit risky.
Yeah, they can just play it slow, in all honesty, right? They don't need to rush. Respawns will start coming in for both sides. Downside is Breed doesn't have teleport available. but they know they have this health advantage. They feel pretty confident. BLG looking towards that dragon. There's still the streamer shuffle available for Fofo, right? And Bridge Divide is still a very powerful tool, and they have the Ziggs starting to poke down. They get this third dragon super threatening. Infernal Soul with the Ziggs is nuts.
Here we go. We're going to start up this dragon. It is FPX very much in the vicinity. They haven't got any bar for the Mega Gnar, though, for Xiaolao, as we can maybe see them go for this. It's taking a very long time. So long, so much that Breathe is actually getting himself back into this fight. This will be another 5v5, and Kair's going to have to go back and TP back in. He's lost too much HP. And FPX, I don't know if you can do this. The poke's just too damn good. They can't get in front of this Azir or Ziggs. As now we can go back in with another fight. TP on the backside of this as Kair finally joins his team. But it's all too little too late. And it's the whole point for BLG.
Yeah, they can't find a route in. And critically as a result, BLG now on 3 dragons, right? Soul so threatening if this team is able to pick it up. Like we already talked about a lot of scaling elements, right? The Azir in the late game is a big problem. And that extra burst damage on the poke going to be a big issue to contend with. Now, what he does here is he pops his ult early, so he doesn't have the lockout where he can't engage. Goes with this big engage on the Zia, but stopwatch does slow it down substantially for Fofo. A lot of turnaround damage. We'll see both supports traded off. And then Breathe goes a little bit too aggressive, trying to get the resets in this situation for his jungler. Not able to find it. This Riven, I'm going to be honest, we saw as a counter pick coming in. Pretty underwhelming so far, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it's been pretty underwhelming. It is about 2,500 gold lead for FPX, but 3 dragons to BLG. As we can see, Xiaolao trying to get some more of those outer turrets. The rest of BLG just starting to come off of resets. And this is the issue we talked about, you know?
It's kind of funny that they're using Fofo to hold the Gnar. That's how rough the Riven matchup has kind of got. Because, I mean, if you look at the items, this is a 2-item Gnar with a Hold Breaker to just a Gore Drink on this Riven.
Yeah, Stride Breaker as well for Xiaolao means if he does get the hop on top of you, it becomes very difficult to actually get away. They've got a lot of good changes to the Stride Breaker. Very, very powerful now as we kind of come into patch 12.4. Becomes more of an option aside from that Gore Drinker, which just gives you a little bit more of survivability. But now with this pressure in mid, I will say if BLG can get a fight, you do have a Azir and a Ziggs. You will shred turrets. As we can see in that bot side picture in picture, tier 1 in the bot lane will eventually be taken. Clit is playing Bouncer and Bodyguard to the Xiaolao split push and should be able to get himself out, no problems whatsoever. And again, the big thing that we always talked about for the side of BLG is that as long as they have the Ziggs, they should be able to just perma push waves in mid or any other lane they decide. As we can see now, there's going to be the solar flares. They're trying to overload LWX. He flashes away and they get themselves the tier 1 in mid. BLG finding an odd number skirmish and capitalizing perfectly.
Yeah, and T1 mid makes a big difference, especially as I just see BLG's T1 mid as being so incredibly hard to crack. Like, you need a team fight win or you need Baron because they kind of just set Doggo up in the mid lane and that's enough, right? You can't really do the same thing they did to LWX there where you just group up and go mid as he has plenty of opportunities just to clear the wave. And this game's really starting to stall out. 3 for 2, 22.5 minutes in the game. This kind of feels like it's what BLG wanted to happen. But we have 2 minutes 20 on that next dragon. If that one gets picked up by BLG, I feel like that's such a massive spike in power. It's going to be very difficult to overcome. And, you know, I think FPX, we saw them go for that heavy engage on a Fofo in the last fight. I think a pick at the start of the fight would favor them substantially, right? They have the tools to look for that. If they can find it, it would definitely give them the momentum to carry through on that dragon fight. They have Care on the Ahri with the potential for the charm. They have Hung with the quickness, potential to cast someone out. They just need to set it up correctly.
Yeah, I think the big thing, though, as you mentioned, the last fight, Fofo had got the broken stopwatch, or had a stopwatch that he broke, and now he's got himself a fully fledged Zhonya's. So it's, and we can see a stopwatch being picked up for Doggo as well. So those pick potentials are becoming harder and harder. As now going to see Xiaolao, jumped on by Chris, but it's a bit of a scrappy one here. As Weiwei also takes a little bit of harassment. There is a push here for FPX into the mid lane. It's only a minute and a half until this dragon spawns. Neither team has a real need to fight over this area for the moment.
Yeah, but establishing that early vision can definitely make a big difference. Especially, you know, I don't think this is going to happen here, but sometimes you get wards down, you reset and let your support restock on wards, and then, you know, you have extras for contesting when they get cleared. But now, though, it looks like FPX doing their best to hold onto this area, and it's going to come down to BLG trying to force their way, and that's where it gets scary, because they're not the best team at forcing their way in on an area they don't control, right? A lot better at kiting backwards with things like the Ziggs or the Azir or controlling space. We do see a reset coming in from Hung. So, right, he placed down the wards. As I was kind of saying, he's now going to reset, get some more. But we actually have more resets coming in from the rest of FPX. So, this timing is a little bit rough. This gives a window for BLG to push in and contest the area. And that is exactly what they want.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see them now. I will say, though, BLG not 100% sure where those resets have come in, so they have to be very, very tentative and careful, cautious of how they run in and try and make things work. And just because of that, not having that vision meant they weren't able to establish that vision control that you mentioned. They will now realize the resets have come in and start to try and get some of this vision down, but it's a little bit late in the play, and already Xiaolahu TPing down to the bot side, so he's got himself a flank opportunity and will be working up towards that Mega. Klid is separated from his team as he goes straight in onto Breed. They're going to try and get them with the quickness as the Mega Inferno Bomb comes out as well. Solar Flare is used, and with a lot of ultimates now burnt here from both sides. You are still waiting to see how you can make this one work for your team as FPX now start up the Dragon. BLG, though, Breed on the flank, looking to try and get around this Dragon Pit and find himself a carry.
Yeah, FPX are in a really bad spot with a lot of key ultimates down. Breeze fishing for an opportunity, but it may just come down to a flip on the Dragon.
Here we go. We're going to flip it. They're going to go in. There's going to be Xiaolahu going on the back side, but they found the Aphelios and they found Klid. There's 2 quick kills to start this one off for BLG. They will shred through the rest of their team as well as Hung and Xiaolahu now left all on their lonesome. Doggo baits in the big old Gnar that turns into Mini, and he's only a baby. He needs to run away and find his mama because he is all by himself. Big move there for BLG to get themselves some kills. They didn't get the soul, but they'll get themselves the Baron.
Yep, deny the soul, but it's one Dragon. What do you really care when FPX pick up one Dragon? You crush the team fight and you're able to turn on the Baron. This is the problem, right? Because FPX was so down in Dragons, they had to fight even when it was very clear it wasn't going to be favorable. Ari, no ult available. Hung, no ult available. So many tools being down. And as a result, they lose the fight, and now the Baron as well.
There's no really way you can test this right now. Xiaolahu did not have TP. Yes, you could have technically gone in as Hung, but it would have been a one-way suicide mission that probably wouldn't have garnered anything there. So big win there for BLG. As I have a look at the replay, because like you said, you had to fight this as FPX. You had to secure the Dragon.
But it's just like no ult from the Xin Zhao, no ult from Care on the Ari. They have so many tools unavailable. They do their best, given everything, right? Trying to get Xiaolahu to jump in. So they just get obliterated, breathing a great angle on this flank. And yes, critically, Klid did secure the Dragon. It could have been worse. That's the horrific thing. Is like this whole scenario could have been worse than how it was that they got the Infernal Soul. So there's still like a limited amount of hope alive. But I really feel like, you know, we talked a lot about this mid jungle for FTX. Haven't really come to fruition, right? They weren't really able to find momentum for Snowball. Klid's looking now, but I don't think you're really going to find anything here.
Oh, the Solar Flare comes out as well, slows him down, but BLG not willing to commit to that engage. They did lose the Heartbreaker from Weiwei, so he used that to get himself out of the precarious situation, and now kind of come back into the game and see where everyone's kind of set up right now. Carry is just sitting off to the side. Very difficult for the Ari to wave clear against these Baron Duck minions. He's very, very mitigated in terms of his wave clear. Very much relying on LWX, who might be in a bit of trouble if Crisp can get behind him. He'll just back himself up all the way, and the Shurima's Legacy going down at the mid lane. They are pretty much fully set up. As I say that, they're going to go straight down on top of Fofo, who has to go into stasis. Hung now back out as he gets LWX flashing away from the Emperor's Divide. It's a bit of a risky play there from FPX, but they do slow down BLG's siege.
They have to kind of go for these desperate plays, though. But the problem is, Jay and Weiwei, and also the Zhonya's core Fofo means even with that charm coming out from Care, they aren't able to find anything. And now, actually get a TP in from Fofo here to finish off this tier 2. This is the problem, right? This composition for BLG is so hard to aggress into when you're behind. Really struggling to find any headway. And FPX, they needed that mid-jungle momentum. They haven't found it. And now it's like they're going for these desperate plays, but they're so limited, right? Azir, not the easiest target to punish when he has Zhonya's. And he has that big tower he just builds himself. So they really were limited in how much they could chase down. And now gold lead has got in favor of BLG. Remember, it was FPX favored for the early stages of the game, but we're a minute 45 away from that next dragon. And I feel like things have just gotten worse since the previous dragon, right? I think it goes without saying quite distinctly, BLG are in a better position, and FPX lost that last fight pretty horrifically. Yeah,
they really did. I think the only real chance you have as FPX right now is to get a massive quickness on top of a Gnar into a wall or something like that. Get a charm onto the Ziggs or a Fofo, and even then there's still so much damage and carry potential onto the Riven and the Viego as well that you can't really count out that would just be, you know, lights out for the side of BLG. It's an opportunity, and that's all it is. So, well, I will say you do have 3 items onto the Aphelios. They did pick up a rapid-fire cannon, so we'll be able to have a little bit of extra range alongside the Collector and the Gale Force. Means he has got a pretty defensive build. Not a huge amount of damage that you would expect from that 3-item Aphelios. Very much lacking in the, you know, Lord Dominic's regards. Or, see the Solar Fire coming out. It's going to force the Ari ult out of Care, but, you know, not as much damage as you expect from a... sorry, not the Ariel, the Gale Force coming out from LWX. But yeah, not enough damage as you would expect from a 3-item Aphelios.
Yeah, and there's still windows, right? I think a big thing to be said is FPX's AoE. If everyone from BLG clumps together and they manage to get a big combo of ultimates, that's the window, right? But they do struggle to push in, and right now they're trying to contest that mid priority and struggling. BLG are the ones who have control of the area. They will back away to respect the Mega Gnar, but not too much. And again, you're trying to force through that little choke point. Look at the satchel just got thrown down. Not the satchel, sorry, the minefield. Now FPX, they wouldn't even walk through it. They go all the way around.
Have a couple of Shirelias as well. They need to go in for a Shello, who did very well to not lose his Mega Bar right there, so it is going to delay it a little bit more. He will have to pop it up right now, but Breathe again on a flank behind the Dragon Pit. Not enough wards here from FPX to be able to cover every single angle, every single point of entry, and they're just going to start up the Dragon. Now they know that Breathe is there. Here we go. They're going to jump straight in. Chris goes in onto the back line, flashes out at Shello, who now left on top of his lonesome, but they have a separated fight as one person finally goes down, but Fofo divides the fight with the Emperor's move. And that's going to be enough for the side of BLG to take this fight. Nowhere for you to go, Shallohu. And Care is the last one left standing. He will get himself the charm to keep himself alive, but it's all for naught. The Infernal Soul will go over to BLG. And what has been a very slow burn of a game is comfort zone for BLG.
Yeah, they just forced FPX to move all the way around, poke them down. FPX got desperate. They knew they had to capitalize on the Mega Gnar, and then the engage comes in. Honestly, I'm going to say this seemed maybe a little bit ambitious from Crisp, right? They go for this engage while Mega Gnar's still up, right? They could have just waited out the timer until he gets exhausted, allow Shallohu to create a lot of space. They do turn around and kill the owner, but then they end up clumped up. And this, you know, Fofo goes in for the shuffle. A split second earlier, you could have got a 5-man, but regardless, he gets the pivotal carries, takes them out, and then it's just BLG chasing down these kills.
Yeah, it does feel like it's just BLG in their comfort zone. You know, the late game, we said it, this game needed to be finished in 30 minutes or less, basically, for FPX. Otherwise, the scaling aspect of BLG's composition is just too much. And now Clid, he knows he has to take a fight here, and now he needs to try and find an odd number skirmish, and he's going to try and go for it straight away. As you can see, they get Chris, but they've already lost their own support. So this is not going to be a favorable trade here for you, FPX. BLG are too far ahead. They're too big. They have too much of an advantage, and there's just nowhere else for you to go. They are all going to be on full retreat, but is it going to be enough to save their jungler? My answer is no, and that's going to mean the Baron coming up here for BLG. They honestly might just start trying to end the game right now, because, oh, as I say that, Doggo flashing away, does not get hit by the Q as well by LWX's Aphelios. Now the Baron can be taken by BLG.
Yeah, this is a fast Baron. Azir, Viego, very pacey. Should be able to pick this one up. And I mean, the thing is, FPX, they're trying to go for a pick. Not a bad plan in and of itself, but Crisp, not the greatest target to pick. The rest of the team instantly manages to funnel in to respond, and even if they weren't in already favor in terms of gold scaling, the extra power of the Infernal Soul very prevalent in that fight. Now, get a replay, get a look through how it went, and it's just that, you know, they see Plays caught out, they're like, let's commit, let's go for Chris, try and burst him, but he lasts such a long time. So much AoE damage coming out from the Ziggs in return. Breathe with a big ultimate across the rest, and then this chase potential from the Viego, from the Riven, using that mobility to track down the enemy team.
Again, there's just not a lot FPX can do about it. The scaling has come in, the resets that you get in the team fights, and just Fofo on this Azir alongside the Ziggs for Doggo are just doing too much damage. You know, they've almost have identical items apart from the Morellos for Doggo, which was put in instead of the Zhonya's for Fofo, and Baron down, 5,000 gold lead, or just a little bit underneath it. BLG will just keep pushing in all these different lanes, and it just feels like, yeah, you're just waiting. It's death by 1,000 cuts here for the side of FPX. I just don't see how they can go for it. They're going to look for a miracle engage, but who do you even prioritize? How do you even prioritize a carry?
Yeah, man, I feel like at this point, it's kind of like desperation. You really need BLG to make a mistake. Like, we kind of talk about these scenarios where, you know, there's this win con, there's this win con. It needs to just be BLG just doing something egregiously bad, right, at this point, because they're so strong. And FPX's composition needs that momentum. They do still have, like, in theory, pick potential, but the fact that Fofo is so long range, Doggo as well, Weiwei and Breathe aren't exactly easy targets to take down. You know, Stopwatch for Breathe, GA for Weiwei back up again. It just feels a little bit desperate. And, you know, maybe LWX gets a big ultimate. He's got the Infernum available. That AoE potential with the Meganar could happen in theory. But BLG seem to be just playing this one out slowly, not giving much opportunity.
Double death cap now for Fofo and Doggo, respectfully. So yeah, it's I think 1 Q from Doggo onto LWX, or even Care, to be perfectly honest. They're out of the fight. I don't think they can actually stay. It's just too much damage, and there's literally no magic resistance on either of these two carries. So FPX going to find themselves very much in a deep dark hole. There is only 45 seconds left on the Baron, so they just have to hold up this wave and maybe the next one as the Streamer's Legacy comes out. Charm's not going to land onto anybody, but again, it's the two relatively tankiest members of the side of BLG, as Hung can't even clear a ward in peace. They are going to land themselves a Charm, and Chris needs to be very, very careful. Loses about half his health bar, and there are, as you say, opportunities if you make a mistake on BLG's part. But FPX, they're going to be wanting a couple of opportunities because it's just so hard for them to even walk forward.
Yeah, and they get poked out. The Infernal still contributing to that. Every time one of those soldiers connects or Doggo lands a bomb, just that extra burst damage making a big difference in the situation. The siege is unrelenting, and the thing is, it's so hard to engage against Nazir, especially when his turret is available. They are, oh man, that's a lot of health lost.
Almost died. Had to pop the Shirelias as well, so we're not going to have the Shirelias here for the side of FPX for the next little while. Care takes 1 Q, and as I said earlier, he's already out of the fight. We are going to see the Moonlight Vigil come out. It doesn't really dissuade the side of BLG. It stops them from taking the inhibitor, but not the inhibitor turret.
Yeah, and BLG just going to sit off the back of that. Nothing really came to fruition in this situation, other than a couple of towers. Nothing came to fruition from the side of FPX, sorry. BLG get a couple of towers, FPX don't find a window, and it's now 1 minute until the Elder Dragon. Big smite from Clid. Yeah, maybe you find a big smite opportunity. The Elder Dragon does give you enough power where you could potentially turn things around, but we are looking at a 6.5k gold lead. Look at the items across the board for BLG. Their carries are stacked. Now, the one advantage I'll say is FPX have already made their way to the Dragon, so they have positioning on the objective. It's very hard for them to push in, so them being there first does favor them. And I think they need to try and find someone from BLG face checking.
I was going to say, BLG have a double TP. They have Fofo and Doggo who will have it up very, very shortly. So they actually don't even have to go for this flip. They could just put in Fofo and Doggo. They would actually shred turrets if they're able to kind of get behind enemy lines and just delay back. So the side of BLG have options available to them. It looks like they're going to try and go for option number 1, which is contest around this Dragon. Chris, though, going to be forced to use his Spirit Rush and dodge away from the Mega Inferno bomb. Clid, though, already down below half HP. That's just Breathe on that backside being an absolute nuisance. They're going to try and engage onto the Ari, who had a stopwatch sitting there in the back pocket. They will land the Charm, but he is still not dead. He is ticking and will eventually go down into GA. So you got one little utility out from the side of BLG, but you're losing everywhere else in the map. The longer this goes on, the worse it becomes for FPX.
Poke keeps coming down. Breeze's gonna head over. No GA now, but the Dragon is being started up. Meganar about to time out.
Yeah, they're going to go for it. Oh, Shallahu misses the Meganar. He had to do something as they can go in straight away. Now you can see Hung trying to see if he can get away from Chris as he goes onto the backside. Moonlight Vigil whiffs across the entirety of the team. Does not hit anybody. The Dragon is still up and available, but this game is pretty much done. There's nothing you can do here. The Ari is dead. You can try as LWX, but you're just going to be bursted down. There's just too much damage, too many threats, and too many things for you to worry about. Eventually, it is a 4-for-1 trade in favor of BLG, and eventually, after nearly 40 minutes, it is going to be BLG taking game 1 of this series.
I really felt FPX never really had a say in this game. Oh,
did you get the power? Oh my god, wait. He got it, but I don't think
and then the tower dies. It doesn't matter.
Wait, oh, he TP'd. Oh my god.
Yeah, he tried to TP to the tower. You know, at least he secured the Elder Dragon. That might mess